The Memory Traders. Detective Sarah Chen had seen 3 impossible suicides in 2 weeks. The first was a kindergarten teacher who walked into the ocean wearing winter clothes, pockets filled with stones. The second, a retired accountant who set himself on fire in his backyard while his grandchildren played inside. The third happened yesterday, a teenage girl who drove her mother's car off a cliff while laughing, according to witnesses. None of them left notes. None of them showed prior signs of distress. And all of them, Sarah discovered, had recently undergone the process. The travelers had arrived on a Tuesday, 18 months ago, not with explosions or threats, but with an offer that made the entire world hold its breath. They called themselves the Anhari, and they looked almost disappointingly ordinary. Bipedal, 2 arms, faces that could have been sculpted by an artist aiming for vaguely unsettling. Their ships materialized in orbit like afterthoughts, as if they'd been there all along and we'd simply forgotten to notice. Their gift to humanity was simple: consciousness transfer, true immortality. Your mind, your memories, your essential self transferred intact into a new body. Not a clone, they insisted, not a copy. The real you, continued in fresh flesh. The bodies came from volunteers, they said, beings from across the galaxy who had chosen to end their lives peacefully, donating their physical forms to those who wished to continue. The Anhari were merely facilitators, guardians of a technology so advanced that death itself had become optional. Within 6 months, the first transfer centers opened in every major city. Within a year, there was a waiting list millions long. The wealthy went first, naturally. Then came a lottery system. Then payment plans. Humanity had found its fountain of youth, and the water tasted like hope. Sarah's partner, Marcus Webb, had been on the list for 3 months. His wife had died of cancer 2 years prior, and something in him had died with her. The process offered a reset button, a chance to wake up in a body that didn't carry the weight of grief in every cell. "You're being paranoid," Marcus told her as they stood outside the apartment of victim number 3. 3 people out of millions who've undergone the process. That's not a pattern, that's statistics. "Statistics don't laugh while driving off cliffs," Sarah replied, pushing open the door. The girl's room was achingly normal. Posters of bands Sarah was too old to recognize, a laptop covered with stickers, a diary with a lock that had never been used. Sarah flipped through it, scanning entries about crushes and friendship drama, and the desperate, universal conviction that somehow everything mattered more than it actually did. The last entry, written 2 days before the girl died, was different. "I remember drowning. I remember the water filling my lungs, the pressure, the darkness closing in. But I've never been near the ocean. I've never even learned to swim. Why do I remember drowning?" Sarah photographed the page, her hands steady despite the ice forming in her stomach. She found similar entries in the homes of the other victims. The teacher had written about remembering a war she'd never fought in. The accountant had sketched pictures of alien landscapes he'd never visited, annotated with notes in languages he shouldn't have known. They were remembering other lives, other deaths. The transfer center downtown was all glass and chrome, designed to look more like a spa than a medical facility. Soft music played from hidden speakers. The air smelled like lavender and something else, something almost metallic that the lavender couldn't quite mask. The receptionist's smile was professionally warm. "Do you have an appointment?" "I need to speak with your chief medical officer." The smile didn't waver. "Dr. Venn is with clients at the moment. Perhaps I could help you with—" "Now!" Dr. Eliza Venn was human, which somehow made it worse. Mid-50s, gray hair cut short, the kind of calm competence that came from years of making life-and-death decisions. She listened to Sarah's concerns with the patient attention of someone humoring a child. "Detective, I understand your worries, but correlation isn't causation. Mental health is complex. The process itself is physically and emotionally demanding. Some clients experience adjustment difficulties." "Adjustment difficulties? Is that what you call remembering deaths you never died?" Something flickered across Venn's face. Not surprise, recognition. "Who told you that?" "The victims told me, in their own words, written before they killed themselves." Venn was quiet for a long moment. Outside her office window, the city sprawled beneath them, full of people who believed they could live forever.
"Come with me," Venn said finally. "There's something you need to understand." The lower levels of the transfer center weren't on any public floor plan. Venn's keycard opened a service elevator that descended for what felt like minutes. When the doors opened, Sarah stepped into a corridor that belonged in a hospital, not a spa. White walls, harsh lighting, the lavender smell was gone, replaced by antiseptic and something underneath it, something organic and wrong. "The Anhari weren't lying," Venn began as they walked. "Not exactly. The bodies are donated. The consciousness transfers are real, but they neglected to mention one crucial detail." She stopped at a window that looked into a vast chamber. Inside, rows upon rows of beings lay in suspension chambers. Some were humanoid, others were decidedly not. All of them were breathing. "Memories aren't stored in the brain alone," Venn continued. "They're written into every cell, every nerve, encoded in ways we're only beginning to understand. When you transfer consciousness into a new body, you don't get a blank slate. You get a body that remembers its previous occupant." Sarah stared at the suspended forms. "These aren't volunteers who've ended their lives peacefully. No, they're prisoners. Political dissidents, criminals, sometimes just people who were in the wrong place at the wrong time. The Anhari harvest them from worlds across the galaxy. They use a process that suppresses the original consciousness, but doesn't erase it, can't erase it. The memories remain, buried in the flesh itself." "And sometimes those memories surface?" "More than sometimes. We've documented thousands of cases. Most people experience fragments, dreams, phantom sensations, unexplained skills or knowledge. A few experience full memory breakthrough. They remember dying. They remember being taken. They remember the moment their body was stolen from them." Sarah's voice came out hoarse. "How long have you known?" "I figured it out 6 months ago. Started compiling evidence. I was going to go public, but..." Venn gestured helplessly at the window. "The Anhara have technology that makes our most advanced weapons look like stone axes, and we've already transferred millions of people into their harvested bodies. If we reject the process now, those people can't go back to their original forms. Most of those bodies have already been recycled or are hosting new consciousnesses. We've backed ourselves into a corner where the truth would start a war we'd lose and destroy millions of lives in the process." "So you're just letting it continue?" "I'm documenting everything, building a case, trying to find a solution that doesn't end with Earth as a smoking crater." Venn's eyes were hard. "And trying to prevent people from discovering what you just discovered, because the Anhari don't leave loose ends." As if summoned by her words, the lights flickered. An alarm began to wail, then cut off abruptly. The silence that followed was worse. Venn grabbed Sarah's arm. "We need to move, now." They ran back toward the elevator, but the doors wouldn't open. Venn cursed and pulled Sarah toward a stairwell. Behind them, Sarah heard something that might have been footsteps or might have been the building itself settling. She didn't look back. 3 flights up, Venn's chest exploded. There was no sound, no visible weapon. One moment she was running, the next she was falling, a hole the size of a fist where her heart had been. Sarah caught her, lowered her to the ground, uselessly pressed her hands against the wound. Ven's lips moved. Sarah leaned close. "Marcus, your partner. His appointment is tomorrow. Stop him." Then she died, and Sarah was alone in the stairwell with a body and the sound of something coming closer. She ran, made it to the ground floor, past security stations that should have been manned but weren't, through the lobby where clients waited in ignorance, flipping through magazines about eternal life, into the parking garage where her car waited like salvation. She was halfway home when she realized they weren't trying to stop her. They were hurting her, letting her escape with her terrible knowledge, knowing she'd do exactly what Ven had asked. Marcus lived in a cramped apartment in the Bronx, sharing space with too many books and a cat that had belonged to his dead wife. He opened the door with a beer in one hand and surprise on his face. "Sarah, it's past midnight. What?" "You can't go tomorrow. The appointment. Cancel it."
"What are you talking about?" So she told him. All of it. The prisoners, the memories, the murders, Ven's death in the stairwell. Marcus listened with the expression of someone watching a friend have a breakdown. "Sarah, listen to yourself. A massive conspiracy involving an alien species and the entire medical establishment? And they just let you walk out of there?" "That's what worries me. They let me go because—" She stopped, thought about it. "Because they knew I'd come here. Because you're scheduled for tomorrow." "So what? I'm bait? Or a message? Or both?" Sarah's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered without thinking. The voice was not human, not quite. The words were English, but the cadence was wrong, like someone reading phonetically. "Detective Chen, you have discovered our secret. This presents difficulties. Where are you?" "Everywhere. Watching. We do not wish conflict with humanity, but neither can we permit disruption of the process. It serves purposes beyond your understanding. You're slave traders, murderers. We are gardeners. Civilizations grow, bloom, and wither. We preserve what can be preserved. The bodies we harvest would otherwise rot unused. The consciousnesses we transfer would otherwise end. We create continuation, balance, order. You're killing people when their original memories surface." A pause. "Regrettable necessity. The human mind is more resilient than expected. Most species adapt more smoothly. Your kind clings to identity with problematic intensity. So you murder them to keep your secret. We resolve complications, as we must resolve yours. But we offer choice. Your partner proceeds with the transfer tomorrow as scheduled. You do not interfere. In exchange, we provide you with a body, someone young and healthy, whose memories have been fully suppressed. You could live centuries, investigate whatever crimes you wish with vigor undimmed by age. Continue serving justice on your own terms." Sarah looked at Marcus. He was watching her with an expression she couldn't read. "And I refuse?" "Your partner still proceeds tomorrow, but the body he receives will be defective. The memories will overwhelm him within days. He will suffer greatly before the end. And you will spend your remaining years knowing you could have prevented his agony with a word." The line went dead. Marcus set down his beer very carefully. "They're bluffing." "Are they?" "You can't actually be considering this. They're offering you stolen goods wrapped in a bow and threatening me to get you to comply." "I know what they're offering. Question is whether I can live with either choice." She didn't sleep that night. Sat in Marcus's apartment while he dozed on the couch, scrolling through files on her phone, evidence from the 3 suicides.
Ven's research, which had been anonymously uploaded to Sarah's encrypted cloud drive sometime around 3 a.m. Photographs of the suspended bodies in the sublevels. Proof, enough to blow the story wide open, enough to start the war Ven had feared. At dawn, Marcus made coffee. They sat across from each other at his small kitchen table, two people who'd been partners for 6 years, who'd saved each other's lives more than once, who knew each other's tells and triggers and the exact brand of coffee the other liked. "I'm going through with it," Marcus said quietly. "The transfer. But I need you to promise me something. Marcus, promise me you won't take their offer. Don't let them make you complicit. Whatever happens to me, don't let them win that way." Sarah thought about the bodies in suspension, about the teacher who'd walked into the ocean, about Ven's last words, about all the people in waiting rooms around the world hoping forever, not knowing what it cost. What if I expose them instead? Release everything. Let humanity decide if eternal life is worth the price. Then millions of people already in transferred bodies become walking graves, including whoever I become tomorrow, and the Anhari turn hostile. Rachel reached across the table and took her hand. "There's no good answer here, Sarah, only degrees of wrong. So what do we do? We buy time. I go through with the transfer. You start leaking information slowly, carefully. Build public pressure for investigation. Force the Anhari to negotiate better terms rather than face exposure. It's not justice, but it's a step toward it. And if your memories break through," Marcus smiled sadly, "then you'll know I'm still in here, because I'll find a way to tell you." The transfer center at noon was busier than it had been at midnight. Marcus checked in at reception, while Sarah waited in the lobby, watching people emerge from their procedures, looking dazed and delighted, touching their new faces in wonder. A woman in her 70s stumbled out in the body of someone perhaps 30, tears streaming down unfamiliar cheeks. "I can feel my hands," she kept saying. "No arthritis. I can feel my hands." An orderly, or someone dressed as one, sat down next to Sarah. Human-looking, but something about the way he moved was subtly wrong. "Your partner will survive the transfer. He no memory breakthrough, no suffering. This we promise."
"And in exchange?" "You do nothing. You are very good at investigating crimes, detective. We have use for such skills. From time to time, we may request assistance with matters requiring human discretion. You would be compensated generously. And when age finally claims you, should you change your mind, the offer of transfer remains open. You want to turn me into an asset. We want to turn you into an ally. There is a difference." Sarah watched the elderly woman hug someone who might have been her daughter, both of them crying. What happens to the consciousness that used to inhabit Marcus's new body? Suppressed, dormant, still present but unable to surface, as humane as we can manage given biological constraints. That's a prisoner, a slave trapped in their own flesh. "Yes," the orderly said simply, "it is monstrous. But so is death, so is aging, so is watching everyone you love disappear while you remain. Humanity chose this trade. We merely facilitate it." He stood to leave, paused. "Dr. Ven tried to stop us. She failed. She is dead. You are not. Consider what that means about the value of survival versus the luxury of principle." Then he was gone, and Sarah was alone with her choice. Marcus emerged 3 hours later. Same face, though somehow younger. Same voice when he spoke. "Hey, partner. How do you feel?" "Strange. Like I'm wearing someone else's skin. Which I guess I am." He flexed his hands, testing them. "But it's me in here. Still me." They walked to her car in silence. Sarah waited until they were on the highway before speaking. "I'm going public, releasing everything." Marcus looked at her. "You know what that'll cost." "Yeah. War, chaos, millions of people trapped in bodies with ghosts inside them. Maybe the extinction of our species if the Anhari decide we're too problematic to keep around. I grip the steering wheel hard enough to hurt. But the alternative is becoming complicit in slavery, in murder, in building a civilization on the corpses of other species' unwilling donors. I can't do it, Marcus. Can't pretend I don't know. They'll kill you. Probably. But Ven died trying to stop this. The least I can do is finish what she started. Marcus was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was different. Older. Sadder. I remembered drowning. I was a child, maybe 8 or 9, but not human. I fell into something like water, but thicker, heavier. My parents watched from the shore. They couldn't swim either. Nobody could reach me in time. I felt my lungs fill, felt the darkness come. And then I woke up here, in this body, with you asking how I feel. Sarah pulled over, heart hammering. The Anhari promised. The Anhari lied. Or maybe they didn't. Maybe I'm just one of the unlucky ones whose memories break through despite their best efforts. Marcus, or whoever he was now, met her eyes. My name was Keth. I lived on a world called Hoffen. I was taken while my family slept. I woke up in a chamber like the ones you saw, unable to move, unable to scream. I've been in there for, I don't know. Time stopped meaning anything. Is Marcus still here? Somehow. I can feel him, like an echo. He's screaming, not in pain, just screaming because he finally understands what he's become, what we've all become. Sarah's phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. We warned you. Complications must be resolved. They're coming for us, Keth said with Marcus's voice. For me, because I'm defective. For you, because you know too much and won't be bought. Sarah started the car, pulled back onto the highway. Then we run. And while we run, we talk. You tell me everything about Hoffen, about the other prisoners you sensed in those chambers, about how the Anhari operate. I record it all. And if they catch us, if they kill us, at least we'll have left a testimony. To what end? Who listen? Someone. Eventually. Maybe not today, maybe not for years, but somewhere down the line, someone will find the truth and decide it matters. She floored the accelerator, weaving through traffic. You're insane. Probably. You want out? I've been wanting out since they took me, but not like this, not quietly. Something shifted in his expression, Marcus surfacing briefly, overlapping with Keth. Drive, Sarah. We'll give them a hell of a chase. They drove through the night, stopping only for gas and to upload files to every server, every news outlet, every conspiracy theory forum Sarah could find. Most would be ignored. Some would be deleted. A few might survive. Keth talked while she drove, describing life on Hoffen, a water world mostly, vast floating cities, a culture built around communal memory. When someone died, their experiences were shared telepathically with the community, living on in collective consciousness. The Anhari came offering trade, technology, friendship. Then they came in the night, with weapons and harvest ships.
How many worlds? Sarah asked. I don't know. Hundreds? Thousands? I sensed others in the suspension chambers, different biologies, different memories, all screaming silently. Keith's hands clenched. They've been doing this for millennia. We're not victims of circumstance. We're crops. Dawn found them in Montana, in a rest stop surrounded by mountains. Sarah checked her feeds. The story was starting to catch, spreading through alternative media. Mainstream outlets were silent, but the whispers were growing. Her phone rang. The Anhari voice again. You have made a regrettable choice, detective. The information you have released will be contained. Your credibility will be destroyed, and your partner will be harvested for a more stable consciousness. We offer one final chance. Go to hell. Sarah said, and hung up. Keith was smiling. Marcus's smile, but with something else behind it. They're afraid. I can feel it. They've never had a species like yours. Stubborn, irrational, willing to burn everything down rather than submit. You're not good crops. Is that a compliment? It's a hope. The attack came at noon. 3 vehicles boxed them in at a traffic light. Figures emerged, human-looking, but moving with that same wrong fluidity Sarah had seen in the orderly. No weapons visible, but Keith gasped and clutched his chest. They're triggering something, in the body, some kind of failsafe. He's struggling to breathe. Sarah, go. Leave me. Keep running. Not happening. She floored it, crashing through the intersection. Horns blared. Metal shrieked. One of the pursuing vehicles flipped, but 2 kept coming. Keith was convulsing now, foam at his lips. The body's rejecting both consciousnesses. Their failsafe is killing us both. Minutes, maybe less. Sarah's mind raced. Hospital. No, they'd be watched. Police? Compromised. Back to the transfer center? Suicide. She took a hard right, heading for the one place that might offer something like sanctuary. The local news station was in a strip mall between a dry cleaner and a tax office. Sarah crashed through the front doors, literally, her car's hood crumpling against the reception desk. She dragged Keith out, screaming for cameras, for someone to record this. A producer emerged, phone already out, filming. "Who are you? What's happening?" "My name is Sarah Chen. This is my partner, Marcus Webb. He underwent consciousness transfer yesterday at an Anhari facility. His body is now host to 2 consciousnesses, his own and that of an alien child named Keith who was kidnapped and enslaved. The Anhari are murdering him remotely because we exposed their operation. I need you to document this, everything, before they erase us both." The producer's eyes were wide, but she kept filming. Others emerged with equipment. Keith was barely conscious now, blood trickling from his nose and ears. Sarah held him, looked straight at the camera. "The Anhari aren't offering immortality. They're offering slavery. Everybody in their transfer centers is a prisoner, a consciousness suppressed but not destroyed. We're building eternal life on the genocide of species we've never met. This has to stop. Someone has to." Keith went rigid, then slack. Sarah checked for a pulse, found nothing. She looked up at the cameras, tears streaming. His name was Keith. He was 8 years old when they took him. He died drowning, alone and terrified. And then he died again just now, murdered for trying to tell the truth. Marcus Webb died too, stolen by a system we embraced without asking questions. She stood, facing the cameras fully. "My name is Sarah Chen. I am a detective with the NYPD, and I am telling you that we have sold our souls for the promise of forever. The only question is whether we have the courage to buy them back." The broadcast went viral. Within hours, it was on every platform, every feed. The Anhari issued denials. Transfer centers closed temporarily, pending investigation. Protests erupted. Governments demanded explanations. Sarah didn't see any of it. She was arrested at the scene, charged with vehicular assault and conspiracy to spread disinformation, held without bail, given a court-appointed lawyer who looked at her like she was insane.
But the story wouldn't die. Other people who'd undergone transfers began reporting similar memory breakthroughs. Whistleblowers from inside transfer centers came forward. Evidence accumulated, undeniable and growing. 3 weeks into her detention, Sarah's cell door opened. Not a guard, something else. The Anhari, no longer bothering with human disguise. Tall, angular, skin like polished obsidian, eyes that held intelligence older than her species. "You have disrupted much," it said in that wrong voice, "caused chaos, turned your kind against a gift freely offered. You call slavery a gift. We call continuation a gift. The bodies would otherwise rot. The consciousnesses would otherwise end. We facilitate transformation. That you find the process distasteful is unfortunate but irrelevant. So why are you here? To kill me? To offer perspective. Your species numbers 8 billion. We have transferred perhaps 10 million. To end the process now would doom those 10 million to eternal imprisonment in bodies containing memories that will eventually surface. They cannot return to their original forms. Those forms are gone. So you face a choice. Accept that some injustice has already occurred and negotiate better terms going forward, or demand absolute justice and condemn 10 million of your own kind to a hell beyond imagining." Sarah sat on her cot, suddenly exhausted. "That's not a choice. That's extortion. That is reality. We are willing to negotiate, to find volunteers truly willing to donate their forms, not harvest unwilling subjects, to develop better memory suppression, or even find ways to merge consciousnesses consensually, rather than suppress one for the other. But this requires cooperation, not warfare. What do you want, detective? Vengeance or solutions?" "I want Keth back. I want Marcus back. I want everyone you've stolen returned to themselves." "Impossible. Death, even involuntary transfer, cannot be reversed. We can only move forward." Sarah looked at the being, seeing for the first time something that might have been genuine regret in those alien eyes. "Why are you really here?" "Because you interest us. Most species, when confronted with unpleasant truths about their salvation, choose comfortable lies. Your kind seems determined to choose uncomfortable truths. This is unusual, problematic, but also admirable in its way. We wish to understand if this is individual aberration or species-wide trait. And if it's species-wide, then we will adapt, find new methods, better methods, or leave your world to age and die naturally while we seek more compliant partners elsewhere." It tilted its head, bird-like. "But we think perhaps there is a third way, one where we work together to create a system that honors both continuation and consent, where transfer becomes not theft, but genuine gift. Would you help build such a system?" Sarah thought about Keth's drowning memories, about Marcus's last moments of clarity, about the teacher walking into the ocean, and the girl laughing as she drove off a cliff, about 10 million people trapped in bodies that weren't theirs, and billions more desperate for the immortality those bodies represented. "I'll help," she said finally, "on one condition. Every person currently in a transferred body gets the choice: stay as they are, aware of what that means, or be euthanized peacefully if the knowledge becomes unbearable. And every consciousness currently suppressed gets a voice, even if it's just a chance to say goodbye. That will destroy many minds, human and otherwise. Then that's their choice to make. Informed consent or no deal." The Anhari regarded her for a long moment. "You will spend the rest of your life managing horrors you cannot fix." "I'm a cop in New York. I'm used to it." Something that might have been a laugh echoed in her cell.
Very well. We accept. You will be released tomorrow. Your reputation will be quietly restored, and we will begin the work of transforming a theft into something approaching justice." It turned to leave, paused at the door. "The child Keth's family still lives on Hafen. We will ensure they know what happened to him, that he died trying to save others. It is small comfort, but it is something." "Thank you," Sarah whispered. "Do not thank us yet. You have volunteered for a task that will break you eventually, mediating between consciousnesses forced to share a single body, witnessing memories of 1,000 different deaths, trying to create fairness from atrocity. You will wish often that you had taken our first offer." "Probably, but Marcus made me promise not to let you win that way, so I guess I'm stuck keeping my word." The Anhari left, and Sarah was alone with the choice she'd made. Not justice, exactly. Not redemption. Just the slow, grinding work of trying to make something monstrous slightly less monstrous, one small compromise at a time. In the morning, they released her. The news cycle had moved on to other scandals, but the work remained. The transfer centers reopened under new protocols. Sarah became a consultant, mediating disputes between original and hosted consciousnesses, tracking down families of harvested beings across the galaxy to deliver impossible news. She never took the transfer herself, grew old naturally, watching the system she'd helped create grow more ethical by increments, never quite reaching justice, but approaching something like mercy. On her deathbed, 70 years old, and surrounded by colleagues who'd never known the world before the Anhari, she received a final visit. Not the obsidian being from her cell, but something smaller, more human-shaped. It spoke with Keth's voice. "We found a way to preserve consciousness without requiring a host body. Not perfect, not truly alive, but aware, continuing. We wanted to know." "Keth?" "A copy, preserved from memory scans before the body died. Close enough. I wanted to say thank you for trying, for making them try." Sarah smiled, feeling her heart labor in her chest, wondering what waited on the other side, hoping, against all evidence, that it was something like justice. In her pocket, her phone buzzed one last time. A message from an unknown number. "Thank you, Detective, for showing us that some species are worth the complications they cause. The Anhari." Sarah Chen died at 8:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in a world that had learned to live with immortality and all its terrible costs. They buried her in a body that was entirely her own, memory to bone. It was the last natural death in her family for 3 generations.